Right. So 50th question, it is talking about the file operations. So it says consider the following Python program. So it has two file objects that they have made, right? So the one is F1. It is a one file object which opens the input.txt file, which is for reading, right? And here in the question, you have provided the input.txt file right over here, which has 3 lines, and one particular row has 3 different data, right? And the next file object, which is the F2, is used to do the F2, the file object is used to open the output.txt, which is for writing only, right? This has opened for reading only. This is for writing only, right? So for output.txt, it's just the writing that we can do. Okay, like according to this program, right? And here they have taken another variable called line, and line is taking f1.readLine. So f1.readLine means the readLine function. What the readLine function is doing, it will be just read the first line of the file. And why it is reading the first line? It is because from here, since the input.txt file has opened, the cursor will be placed over here, right? So the readLine function will help you to read the line where the cursor has placed. So the cursor stays here, so it reads this line, right? For some reason, if the cursor has placed over here in the second one, readLine will do this particular, or readLine will read this particular line of the file, right? So since it is the beginning of the file, or like it is just open the file, cursor stays here. So according to this read line, it's going to read this particular line, right? And when the line is read from the read line function, what the read line is going to do is like it's going to create that particular line into a particular string, right? So that means this line will hold something like this: Nimal, 30, 60. It's a one big string, right? So this is what the variable line is holding, right? Then the while condition. So when it comes to the while condition says as like the while conditions condition, like while structures condition is taken as line over here. It's just line, right? Lines mean what? This particular thing. So that means it's kind of a string value. That means it has a value, right? According to the Python, if any particular variable is having a value other than the 0 or the fails, as well as none, all the other values represents true. So false will represent by the Boolean value false from the 0, and from the primitive data type called none, because none does not represent anything, right? So it's going to consider, like the while structure will consider this line, the value of this line, since it is holding a string, as true. that means these things are going to happen now, right? So here there are some things that for you to understand, for you to learn in a new way, like two different methods called split and strip, right? So it says take the line, that means they are going to consider this string, right? And it says dot strip, dot strip. So dot strip does what? If in case this particular string contains leading and tailing spaces. What do you mean by leading and tailing spaces? Something like this. Now assume that this string stays like this. Nimal, comma 30, comma 60, and like this. Right, so that means the things over here are spaces. Things over here are spaces. Right, so these are called the leading and tailing spaces. This is leading space. These are tailing space. Leading and tailing spaces. And this strip function will delete the leading and tailing space. That means if the value is something like this, the strip function will convert it into something like this. So Nimal starts at the very beginning, no spaces at the beginning, comma 30, comma 60. And that string is ending from just after the 0. Right? So we consider this as line which has leading and tailing space. So what we have done over here is just executing the strip function, which will delete the leading and tailing spaces. Hold on a second, people. right? So strip function, what it will do, will delete leading and trailing. Leading and trailing spaces. Right, so earlier the line is like this. And now the line is like this. This is how the line looks alike, right? I want you to note this down, people, because we haven't discussed this during the Python. So just get to know about the strip from this point, right? So it's better you write down. I'll erase the other things, people. It's better you write down the things on the board. If you have the Python note with you, have it to the Python note, right? Or else you can have it in a place where you see it is good for you, right? So anyway, what you have to do is get to know about the strip function. I'll give you a minute, so complete it and let me know, right? Okay, Mihin, this is good. You have done the questions. So let's go through, right? Okay, are we done, people? Okay, anyone who is still writing about this? So it's better you get to know about this paper, because since this is there in the past papers, it will be tested, right? About the split method, and there is another function is called split. Here we are talking about the strip. There's another thing called split. We are going to learn about it as well. All right, so that is all about the strip, right? Okay, then about the split function, right? There is something called split as well over here. Right. Yeah, sorry for that. I got a call, people. So the split method, split is referring to the string again, string data type, right? So the splitting will be done by default. Splitting will be done by the space, right? And again, we can define a particular value or like a particular character to be split out. Right now, if I take something like this, if I select x equals, let's say it is ABC space. I'm going to repeat the thing with another letter, so I will take it as PBQ, right? So if this is the string, if I ask to print x dot split, right? So x dot split will give you an output something like this. So it's going to give you a list. This is going to be your output. It's going to be a list. which has ABC as one item and PBQ as the other item. Right, so that's what the split function is doing. It splits the value from the space, then create a list of items that it can be created. People, is that clear? Okay. Then, if I ask to print something like this, print x dot split, and within brackets I'm specifying a character. I'm saying split it from B. So now I'm specifying a character. So when I'm specifying a character, it's going to split it from that particular character. So earlier when we are splitting from the space, we lost the space, right? It's ABC, no spaces here. So space is being tiered out, then PBQ is created. So when they are asked to split it from B, so we will lose the character B. Right? So it's going to give you something like this. First item that you are going to receive is A. First splitting position because it splits from B. Right? The second item going to be C, space and P. Then it is splitting from B over here. So there is a third item as well. Third item is going to be Q. So you are getting three items, right? A, C space P and Q. It is because it is being split by the character B. So likewise, we can specify a particular character to be splitted regarding a particular string. Is that clear, everyone? Yes, people, is that clear? Okay. So you can have this small note as well regarding the split. So I'll write something about split as well. So split function. How you're going to say we will decompose. Yes. We will decompose a string from the space by default and create No. Lalindi, there is no any comma in between here, Dua. It is indicating this particular block. C, space and P. Those three characters taken together because it is split in from B. And create a list of splitted items. Right, so you may write down this particular thing which I have written in the board. We'll decompose a string from the space by default and create a list of splitted items. Then here, put a star after the note. If a character has specified with split, if a character has specified with split, string will be decomposed from that character. So take it down, people. It's about the strip and the split. Let me know when you're done.
Wanna play? Wanna play?
No, this is the class.
I'll land on something. I landed on the elephant.
Oh. So what?
I landed on the flower. That's great.
No, not here, not here. Start is doing class.
I landed on the red hexagon. I landed on the monkey.
Careful.
Daddy, I landed on the monkey.
Okay, one is done. How about others? All right. So, yes, anyone who is still writing? All right, so I'm going to print this. Okay. So, yeah, let's come back to the question. All right, so let me walk you through this again. So, we created F1 object to open the input.txt. This is the input.txt. And it is open only for reading. We create a F2 to open the output.txt only for writing. So they haven't given any output.txt over here. So let's guess output.txt is created somewhere over here. Yeah, let's say it's a very same place. This is output.txt, right? And the cursor is placed at the beginning. And it says f1.readline. F1 belongs to input.txt. So once the input.txt is open, your cursor plays at the very beginning of the file since it is open for reading. And read line will read the very first line and will convert it into a string, right? So that means this line will give you something like this. Nimal, 30, 60. It's a big string, which is limited from these double quotes, right? Or a single quote you can show, right? It's a one big one, people. Comma is not separating things, right? It's just one particular thing. Comma is also considered as a character inside that string, right? So that is what you call line. This particular variable contains this string now. Then while structure is used and line is taken as the condition. So as I told you, if a variable does not hold a 0 or a false, the Boolean value false, or the none, other than those cases, it indicates 1 or the true, the value true. So the while line means while true, in other words. So that means if this indicates true, these things are going to be executed. So in the first line it says, take the line, that means this, that means this, that means this. Right? So take the line, strip it. So now we know what is being done, like what the strip function can do. So in case if this line, the variable line, has leading and tailing spaces, those things will be taken out. So in other words, it will convert into a string which starts from the letter N, which ends from the number 0. Right? හරියටම ඒ දෙන්න අතරමැද තියෙන ඉස්සරහින් පිටිපස්සෙන් හිස්තැන් නැති එක්කෙනෙක් බවට එයා පත් කරනවා. Right? So that is what has been given from this part. Right? Again, it returns a string. String එකක්ම තමයි එන්නේ. ඉස්සරහින් පිටිපස්සෙන් හිස්තැන් නැති string එකක්. Now that string is asked to split from the comma, right? And you know, once the split function is executed, it is going to give you a list and it is going to split the string from the places where it indicates inside the string. That means this string will be stripped by this point and as well as will be stripped by this point. So 3 different items will be created. One is nimal. It is considered as a string. Another one is 30. It is also considered as a string. The other one is 60 and also considered it as a string. Right? So since this is a list, these items are separated by the comma. And it is not the comma which stays here. මෙතන තිබ්බ කමාව නෙවෙයි මේ මෙතනට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ, right? මෙතන තියෙන්නේ මේ list එකේ item කොහොමත් කමාවකින් වෙන් වෙන්නේ. ඒක නිසා එතන කමාවක් තියෙන්නේ. මේ කමා එක මෙතනින් මැකෙනවා. split කරනකොට. Yes, people, are we clear up to this point? Okay. So then it says, now this particular list, which is created by the split method and the strip method, is assigned to a variable called data. So data is a small list which contains 3 values, which is nimal, 30 and 60. So now it says, take the first index of the data. Now what is the first index? When it is a list, this is given a certain indexes. This is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So it is talking about take data 1, right? So taking data 1 means considering this, it is a string and they are asked you to convert it into a float. So it will become 30.0. Right? Same goes here. Take data 2, that means this. Convert it into a float, that means 60.0. Right? So they are asking you to add it together. So which will provide you 90.0. So now the value total is given the value 90.0. Then look at how the f2.write happens. f2.write. Now f2.write means what? It is asking you to write into the new file, which is the output.txt. So f2.write is formatted with 4 curly braces. So these are called the placeholders. We discuss about this when we are discussing the print function. Right? So it doesn't matter whether it is inside the print function or in the write function. Curly braces, empty curly braces describes placeholders. දේවල් දාන්න පුළුවන් තැන්. And those placeholders are working with the function called format. Format is the function which defines what are the things that are going to be assigned to these placeholders. So it says data 0 for the first placeholder. Data 0 means what? Data means this particular list. So data 0 means nimal. This is data 0, 0th index of the data list. So that means you are going to have nimal as the first value. Of this file. Then it says data 1, that goes to the second placeholder. Data 1 means what? Data 1 means 30. It is not 30.0, it is 30 because it is talking about the list, the value of the list. The 30.0 may float data 1. It does not affect on the value inside the list. It is just 30. Right? So that means after this placeholder, there is a comma over here. So comma 30 will be taken. Right? Then another comma. This placeholder goes with data 2. That means 60. And comma, last placeholder goes with total. Total means 90.0. That means here they are going to have 90.0. Right, so that is how the very first line of the output.txt is gonna happen. And at the end, they have used something called /n. This is called the new line character. new line character. Right? That means write something on this file. After that, take the cursor to the next line. That means whatever that is going to be written is going to be written on this line. People, is that clear? How the first line are being assigned to this particular output.txt. Okay. So according to that, so after this line, it is there again f1.read line, assign it to the line. So since that is the last line of the while structure, it goes back and check the condition. So f1.read line, this particular read line will do what? It will read this line of the input.txt. So summon 8045 will be go through the same situation of this Nimal 3060. That means it's going to write over here summon, 80, 45, 125.0. Then Upali 180 will be read again from this, goes up, and Upali 180 is going to happen the same way. Upali, 100, 80, 180.0. So which brings us the answer of the fourth one. Yes, everyone, is that clear? This is going to be the answer. Yes, people, is that clear? Right, okay. Now, people, extra question. If the coding, if this code does not contains this /n, what's going to be your output? What's the answer from all these 5 things? What's the answer? Yes, Ravindra, that's correct. If the /n is absent, answer is going to be the 5th one. /n තිබ්බ නිසා තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ පේලි 3කට එන්නේ. /n නොතිබුණා නම් it's going to be the same. It's going to be, everything is going to be on the one particular line. Okay, so people, that brings us to the end of the MCQ paper. So we have done this in 2 separate parts, right? I hope that you have timed this and planned it well and done it as a real examination. So the marks, if you have done that way, the marks that you have gained are the real marks that you are going to gain in the examination. So if you got anything wrong, please be conscious about that and make those things correct. Right, we are going to the next paper, which is the structured paper, right? So I'm going to load that up. And before we move to that, if you got any questions regarding any particular question in this paper, it's time for you to ask. Yes, if you got anything. And again, people, I would love to know what is your mark regarding this paper out of 50? How much you scored? Yes, people, kindly send me the marks that you have gained. Right? How much you got it correct out of 50? And you want the 5th question? Okay, Dua. I go for the 5th. Oh, Lalindi, 5th one. Were you asking about the 5th question, or like you said, like the 5, like you got 5 wrong? Is it so? No. My bad. You were telling the answer for the one I was asking. Sorry, Ryan, it's my bad. Right. Okay, Devni, yeah, it's a good mark. Lanindi, yes, that is a good mark. Keep it up. Right, then Hamoma. Neither. ඒක ගැන හිතනකොට 45 තමයි තැන. So always try to reach that point. Minidi, keep it up. තව චුට්ටයි හදාගන්න තියෙන්නේ. Right. Others, how about the situation? Okay, Minuka. That's good. Yes, others? How about your situation? Satsarani, okay. Okay, Satsarani, go through the things that you went wrong, Dua. Right, and when we are meeting here, make like have the corrections, right? Where the chitika balanda, hadaganda, clear karana, right? Okay. Yes. Others? How about your situation? Kushani, Nihil, and Sanadi? And Sunadi Amarasingha, I think it's the yes, Putamata, yes. Duata Karagana Paso with the Api, Makani Hikini, that Makadini Hampone. Right, okay, others, please send me the marks, right? Okay, I'm moving to the structured paper. Oh, that's good, me. Keep it up. Okay, I'm Sanadi. Okay, that's good. That's great. Keep it up, though. Keep it up. Okay, I'm taking the marking scheme so we can discuss easier and faster as well. Right. Okay, so the very first question, it is asking about the generations and the technologies that they were using, right? So the first generation, it's, you can say electronic valves or the vacuum tube. Second generation, transistors. Third generation, integration circuits. Fourth generation, large scale integration, as well as very large scale integration and microprocessors. If they ask about the fifth generation, it should be what? It should be ultra large scale integration, ULSI, right? So 4 marks are given for the first answer of this structured paper, the first part. Right, so the second part is asking about the fetch execution cycle, right? So at least you should have fetch next instruction, increment the program counter, decode the instruction, execute the instruction. At least these 4 steps should be there, and you should show it is being cycled, right? So start, that is not a must, and stop, that is not a must, right? So you should have that particular fetch, decode, execute thing with the increment of the program counter. So for those things, 2 marks. All right, so I'm discussing and moving forward. If you need to interrupt, you can interrupt people, right? So just interrupt and ask. Then in the part C, they were asking you to calculate a particular calculation using 2's complement 8-bit representation. So the calculation is 5 minus 3, I guess. Is it so? Yeah, 5 plus minus 3, it says. Right, so this is the question. So in that part, you have to do what? The representation of 5 must be done like this, since it is an 8-bit representation, right? And for the representation of minus 3 as a 2's complement value, so this is going to be the 2's complement value straight away. Right, and for the 3, you should write the positive 3 first using 8 bits. Then you have to invert it. Inverting means like the zeros become ones, ones become zeros. Then you have to add a 1 to that value to find the 2's complement value of minus 3. Right, so this represents 2's complement of 5. This represents the 2's complement of minus 3. Right, so if those representation has done, 2 marks will be given. Right, then for representing these two and with the plus mark, that is a must, people. You must indicate that these two values are being added together and taking the final value and saying, or no, for that taking the final value and all these things, you are given just 1 mark. Right? So it's just 1 mark. So 2 marks for the present representations, 1 mark to the calculation. And then saying the carry out of the most significant bit is ignored in 2's complement addition, it is given additional 1 mark. Right? So altogether for that part, you will be given 4 marks. 2 marks for the representation, 1 mark for the addition, and 1 mark for saying that the most significant bit is ignored in 2's complement addition. Right? So that should be gone. Then you will be given those values. Right? So that will be the end of the first question. So see how much you got out of 10. All right. The second question, they are asking you to underline, right? That is the way they have given it. Second one, let me see. Yeah, so they have given you this particular table. Lama, just a second. Sumara, come here. Right, so you are provided with this table and they are asking you to underline the specific answer, right? So max file size for the FAT32 and NTFS, like FAT32 is the older version of the file system, NTFS called new technology file system. FAT stands for file allocation table, right? So for the maximum file size, in FAT32 it is limited, in TFS it is unlimited. For max file name, FAT32 it is limited. You can't type after a certain amount of characters, but NTFS it is unlimited. So security, there are no security or like minimum security in FAT32, but NTFS has a proper security methods. As well as when it comes to the supporting of Unicodes, FAT32 does not support for Unicodes, NTFS does support the Unicodes. So these things can be found in your operating system lesson, right? So if you are not clear with those, go through the portions, right? So if you have done that correctly, so you will be given 3 marks if all 8 are correct. In between 7 and 4, you will be given 2 marks. If you got less than 4, then only 1 mark will be given. Right. So next part is about the it's a memory calculation. A computer has an 18-bit virtual memory address space where 6 bits are used for the page address. Calculate the total number of pages defined by the above addressing scheme. If you look into the marking scheme, it's little bit. No, it's clear. It's clear in the next paper. it is a little bit jumbled. Here it is clear. The number of pages. Just a second. Suhara, hold on. Okay. Yeah, don't throw the stones on the fucking air. Yeah. Yes, please don't throw things on the air. These glasses will be broken. Yeah, ball will be okay, right? The ball will be okay.
Even this will be okay.
Yeah, stuff one will be okay, no worries. Just the county ones. Okay, so when it comes to the number of pages, how we are going to do? So here it says the address is. Oh, there are, it says 6 bits used for the page address. So it has two particular parts, page and offset. So page has 6 bits.
Mommy, Dad,
And since it is the total
the ball
one
is
is
all
18,
up there. Dad, the ball is all up there.
oh my God,
Let's get it.
not now, right? With Ammi, we will be able to get it. So 12 bits for the offset, right? So if you want the total number of pages, you can take this amount as a 2 to the power, right? So that is why in the marking scheme it is taken. Total number of pages is equal to the power 6 because 6 is the one which represents the page number. So it's 64, right? And yeah, as you can see, 2 marks will be given if you said 64, only 1 mark is given if you say it is 2 to the power 6, right? And then it says you have given a particular address and they are asked you to divide and show what is the page portion and what is the offset or the displacement. So it is easy, right? So the first 6 bits of that address represents page. The rest of the bits represents the offset. Right, so if it is being represented clearly, so then 1 mark will be given. You want to go up with me? That is in a class. There are lots of people in the class. See, 10 people. See, look at this. All these students, Akkala and Ayla, stays with me. So I can't leave here and go. I'm sorry. After the class, huh? After the class.
Get my ball. Get Coney. I want to be a spider.
So hard. Okay, so for the part C, they are asking you to draw the 7-state diagram. Actually, they are not specifically asking you to draw the 7-state diagram, right? So what they were saying is,
This table looks alright.
it's better I have that.
I want to go.
You can draw it. Draw it. Go and draw it. Careful.
Diagram?
Yeah, careful.
Want to draw a diagram for me? You mean diagram? Okay. I'll draw a diagram.
Right here, they are asking draw an operating system process transition diagram for the process creation to termination. So here in the marking scheme, they were giving you a very simple drawing, right? But in case if you are asked to draw it now, remember to draw the full diagram, right? So not only these 5 states, all 7 states, right? And remember to write the things in here, right? So if I clarify the things, here you should have something called admit, and here for one side it should be dispatch, and to the other side it should be timeout. Right here it should be release, and this should be IO wait, or you can say event wait. Right, and this is IO completion. Right, and there are extra states which is called swept out and blocked, swept out and wait. Yeah, some communication errors has happened, people. So this can be written as waiting, right? Ready or waiting. So after that, at the latter part of this, there are swept out and waiting from here. So once you suspend this state, you are going to the swept out and waiting. Once you activate it, you are coming back to the waiting state again. So same happens from here. So from block to swept out and block will be happening due to the suspend. And from there you can come back to the block state due to an activation. Right, and from the creation you can admit to the swept out and waiting state straight away. So it's better you remember all the states and all the reasons for this to happen. But for this particular question, they were not considering about that, just considering this particular diagram. So if you have drawn it only for this paper, you will be given 4 marks. Right, so look at the marking scheme. It says all 5 states with arrows in the correct direction, 4 marks. Create, ready, running, terminate with arrows in the correct direction, 3 marks. All 5 states, arrows are wrong, the direction, or without arrows, it's 2 marks. Any 2 states, it is 1 mark. But nowadays, remember, marking scheme is not this smooth, right? It is tough. Right, so 4 marks for that. That is the end of the second question, right? So see how much you got out of 10. Yes, Kushani Dua, I received your correct answers. So go through the incorrect ones, right, and see where you have went wrong, right? Then make a කරන එකේ එකම වමනාව ඒක ළමයි, right? ඔයගොල්ලෝ වැරදෙන තැන් දැනගත්තාම ඒක හදාගන්න ඊළඟ පේපර් එකට යන්න කලින්. හදාගෙන ඒ වගේ question එකක් ආවොත් වරද්ද ගන්න එපා. right? ඒක හරි දැස්ස ගන්න. right? That's what we are trying to do here. Okay, so the next question, the third one, it is talking about an ER diagram. Right, so when it comes to the ER diagram, it should be a completed one, right? So in the question, they were talking about.
Daddy, did you want this diagram?
Wow, that's nice, Suzu. What kind of a diagram is that? It's a fish kind of a diagram, right?
No, that's me.
Okay, that's great. That of course, it's a very good one. Suzu, that is my drawing glove, Suzu. You can't play with it, remember? Right, so here, first of all, you have to figure out that there are two particular entities, which is the student and the sports. Because if you go through the scenario, the admission number, you got two entities. So the admission number, student name, home address, class, all belongs to the student, right? And when it comes to the sports, they are not specifying what are the attributes of the sports, but there is an incorrect one. There are sports like volleyball, track and field, athletic, table tennis, etc. Right? These indicates the type or the name of the sport. So that is going to be the attribute, not the volleyball, track and field, table tennis, those kind of things, because we don't know if it's going to go. We have to write around the sport entity. If we are going to say all the names of the sports, how do you know like how many names are going to be there? We never know because it says etc. We don't know how much etc. is, right? So that's not going to happen. Right. So when it comes to the entities and all these things, so student and sport. So student is having admission number, student name, home address, class, 4 attributes. And the admission number is the key attribute. Sport, it does not have a particular primary key kind of a attribute. So in that case, we have to propose it. And the type or the name can be there as an attribute, right? So when it comes to the marking scheme, right? So it says 4 attributes should be there. So admission number, address, the what else we had? Admission number, address, name, and the class, right? Those things should be there. And the hours, this hours indicates in the question they are saying a particular student, say each student can participate predefined number of hours in a sport, where this entity sport, entity student are both involved in describing predefined number of hours, right? So that in that case, it is going to be a descriptive one, right? So the entity student must be there. This is kind of participate. And then sport, right? Here you have 4 attributes: admission number, name, home address, and class. And admission number must be underlined. Here it's better you say type or name, doesn't matter. And it's better you propose some particular primary key like sport ID, right? And regarding the cardinality, it says a student can participate more than one sport. One student can participate more than one sport. For a particular sport, there can be more than one student. For a particular sport, there can be more than one student, which gives you many to many as the cardinality, right? You don't draw anything which I have drawn here in green. Right? Is not there, right? So this kind of a diagram must be there. So if the diagram comes in a proper way, it gives you 2 marks. Yes. Planning the is the number of hours. Thank you for reminding to me, right? It should be over here. Hours, the descriptive one. So then you can go for 2 marks. Right, so see how they have given the marks. Complete diagram with attributes 2 marks, diagram without attributes 1 mark, 2 entities and 1 relationship, right? 1 mark. So somehow it's just 2 marks that you have. Then after, they are talking about, we have done these things earlier, but I'm going through. They are talking about filling out a particular table. So there are 3 columns, which is relationship, cardinality, and the reason. So relationship name should be there, saying participate. Cardinality must be illustrated as a many to many. Even you can say M_N kind of things, it doesn't matter. And reason, it should be a proper one. And in this question, you have the explanation. You can copy the explanation from the question into here without changing a word, right? So if you just copy this part, if you just copy these 2 lines, that will be your answer. So that means the answer is provided to you. You only need to copy it down if you really know what's going on. Right, so one student can participate for more than one sport, more than one student for a specific sport. Right, so if all 3 are given correct, then 1 mark will be given. And the part C is asking about a particular saying that they are talking about. Right, so they indicate yeah, for some reason board is closed. Yeah, this is the one. So they have given this statement, ER diagram do not allow attributes to be assigned on a relationship. State whether this statement is true or false. Explain your answer by using the given scenario. Right, so that means if you think about the ER diagram, right? So the ER diagram has the number of hours attribute assigned to the relationship called participate, right? So you can clearly say this is false, right? As it's saying in the marking scheme, it is false or not correct. And always remember to write that clearly and as a separate answer, because it is given a separate mark. Then the reason is saying number of hours is defined as an attribute on the participant relationship. So this is like a very brief reasoning, right? So when you are writing this, it's better you write it properly, right? In the above ER diagram, there is an attribute called number of hours assigned to the relationship called participate. So the suggestion that the question is making is wrong, right? It's better. මොකද කොහෙන්වත් ලකුණු අඩු වෙන්නේ නැති වෙන්න එන තැනට ලියන එක හොඳයි. The last part D, is talking about a particular database design that they have given to you, right? So how the database is given? It is given like this. Right, it says a database designer suggested the following relation for the above system, state two weaknesses of this relation and suggest necessary modification. So you should be able to clearly identify the hours attribute is not shown over here. Right, it's a primary requirement of the principal. He needs to store the name of the student, the address of the student, the class, the admission number, and the sport that that particular student is doing, as well as how many hours a particular student is spending on a particular sport. So admission number, student name, address, class, sport name, everything is here, but no number of hours are given over here. That will be a one big weakness in this table, right? And the other things, when we store all the data in a one particular table, it will cause us data duplications, data redundancies, accuracy problems, right? There will be many weaknesses. So you can go for any one of those, right? So that's what it goes. So 2 marks is given for that. And they are asking for the necessary changes. Necessary changes means it's the correct schema that you need to be written regarding the ER diagram, right? So if the ER diagram drawn correctly, it is easy for you to convert it into a particular schema. Right, so if I recap it to you, the student entity is there. It has admission number, it has address. I'm just using the short forms. It has name, and it has a class, and it participates in sport, which has a sport ID and a name or a type. Right, and this has number of hours as a descriptive one. So how we are going to convert this? We are going to take the student and we say admission number, primary key, name, address, and class. For the sport ID and name. And since this is a many-to-many relationship, we are considering a new table. So we can give any name for that. I give STU, SPT. And we must take the primary keys of the other entities, or like participating entities, and both together will give you a primary key, plus any descriptive attribute will be goes with this. Right, so this is going to be the proper modification for that particular scenario. Right, so if you are given this properly, you will be given the marks. Right, so 3 marks are given for that. So it's a one big question which gives you 10 marks just using the ER diagram. Still, the paper carries this nature, people. Right? Okay. So see how much you got out of 10. And we are coming to the last part of the structured paper. Yes, so the questions are, they were asking us to classify the software according to the chart given over here. Right, classify the following software as either system software or as application software. Yes, Linux is an operating system, which is a system software. Word processor and web browser are application softwares. Right, simple as that. So if you have given everything correct, 2 marks will be given. And in the second part, they are asking the categories of the secondary storage with a particular example, right? So there are three types of secondary storages, which is magnetic, optical, and solid. And the examples are like for magnetic, hard disk, diskette, tape drive, right? Those kind of things, optical, CD, DVD, and VCD, Blu-ray, all these things. For solid states, flash drivers, memory cards, solid state disks, right? Those kind of things can be taken. So if the 3 types and the 3 examples, like they are asking 1 example per each type, are all correct, 3 marks will be given. Otherwise, all 3 types without any examples, 2 marks. Any 4 or 5 correct, 2 marks. Likewise, the marks are given. Right, so see how much you got out of 3 for this thing. Then they are asking about what kind of validation check that we can use regarding that particular check-ins over here. Right, so they say the transaction file in the company payroll system includes employee number, hours worked, department code, and week number. Assume that the system maintains employee master table and department master table. Encircle the most appropriate validation check for each of the data element given the following table. Employee number. So like if it is a system, employee number is must to be there. So it's a presence check. Hours worked, right? So it's kind of an range that we are going to thinking about, right? Because there will be limitations, right? Yeah, sorry, my communication errors. Right, so employee number, they take it as presence in employee master table. Hours worked, it is kind of a range that we are talking about, so it should be a range check. Department code, it must be there in the master table, department master table, presence in department master. The week number is again can be taken as a range check, right? Because that's these hours worked, week numbers. There can be work hours, or maybe they may not, right? So the presence check is not suitable for that kind of things. Presence කිව්වම ළමයි communication error එක දිගටම එනවා පොඩ්ඩක් alert එකේ ඉන්න. තව විනාඩි 10ක් 15ක් තියෙන්නේ. Right, so 3 marks if you have chosen these things properly, right? Then the last part, it is talking about the video conferencing and copyrights. They ask you to explain it, right? So it must be something which goes parallel to this particular explanation. Right, it says this is the process by which 2 or more individuals, that is a key point when it comes to the video conference. You should say it is 2 or more people, right, or a group of people located in different places, carry out a discussion or do the communication through network by transmitting audio and videos, right? Yeah, I will show it to you. And for the copyrights, it says the right of the author to copy, print, and market his or her material. That is what you call copyrights. So if you have this idea in your question, in your answer, have the 2 marks, right? And be very careful of the keywords, right? Video conference, you have 2 or more individuals or like group of people, right? Located in different places, right? Right, so 2 marks for that. Lalindi, this is the answer for the part C. Okay. All right, so see how much you got out of 40 people. It is the end of the structured paper. Right, then we are going to go to paper 2. So see how much you got out of 40. And let me know as well, people. Oh, that's a very good mark, Lalini. Keep it up, keep it up. Yes, how about others, people? Mihin, very good. Keep it up. Minidi, that's good, very good. Keep it up, keep it up. Yes, others? This is Sanadi, right? Yes, Sanadi. Okay. So try to move to the 35 people. So it's good, Sanadi. So see what are the things that you have missed. All right. So people, we have to talk about the second paper since it is 7/7. Session like we got another 5 minutes time of until the time is done. So it is a half an hour question, right? We have to go through the things. So we'll start discussing it by next week. And people, for next week, please prepare the, please try the 2012 MCQ paper as well, right? Velavati full paper, right? At least finish the first paper, right? And get ready. So we are going to discuss about the second paper, and we are moving to the 2012 if you got a chance. Right. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to end the session from here, and let's hope and pray that we can meet physically next week. So yeah, get ready, people, get ready for the worst situation. So if it get better, it will be better for us. Right, so I'm going to end the session from here, people. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week for the very same time. Right, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, thank you, people. Good night. Good night. Thank you very much.